Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners.
Life is too short. You have to have passive income to secure your family's future. You never know. You might lose your job today. Something might happen to you. You never know. Everything is unpredictable.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yep, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and we're back for another super awesome episode. But before we even do that, I want to say thank you so much for continuing to download, continuing to share. It means the world to me. You're doing that on Instagram, on LinkedIn. It's really, really cool. So thank you so much. And for those of you that want to leave an honest written review and rating, you can do that. We've got a little video here for you on the Apple and Spotify platforms. And so go check it out. And if you want to check out any of the previous episodes, which are more than 300 at this point in time, go to firstgencp.com/podcast and you can check out every single episode you've ever wanted to see. Once again, firstgencp.com/podcasts. And so listen, if there's anyone who has been in the financial services industry, you are in the financial services industry, you realize that, hey, listen, there's something out there that goes beyond Wall Street that you've really been wanting to get into. Well, today you're going to learn about how someone from financial services got into truck stops and from truck stops into real estate. And so it's going to be really, really awesome. I really am looking forward to you hearing today's conversation with Mr. Tedz Patel. We're going to get to that just after this. So if you want to understand how investing in multifamily communities across multiple states can accelerate your long distance investing success, then guess what? Today's a conversation you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why? Because today's guest, well, you know what? Not only started his corporate career as a business analyst in the financial services industry, he also went from there for a while and then he transitioned into project management. And you know what? After leaving the W-2, every once in a while, he still likes to successfully lead projects, even while he's adding value in this new multifamily space. So I'm sure he's going to tell us more about that. He's the host of the soon to be released, and you're probably listening to this and it's already been released, and I'm going to let him tell you the name of his new podcast. And he is the founder and CEO of Astra Capital. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Tedz Patel. Ted, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Really looking forward to the entire Going Long family learning a lot more about you. And being able to have you tell more of your story. But you know what? Here's one of the things that also happens, Ted, and I know we met not that long ago, but you know what? I really like to start things out on a positive note, but I also want to help people understand who you are and where you live. So help us understand, where is it that you call home in the U.S.?
I'm from New Jersey. For us, a city is called Paramus. It's located about 15 to 20 miles away from Manhattan. So it's pretty close, 30 minutes in Manhattan. That's it.
Fantastic. I love how you put that in mileage. So anyone who actually knows the area that he lives in, that 15 miles, it could either take you 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes when the night or early in the morning, or it could take you 2 hours.
Depending on the traffic.
Yeah. Depending on the traffic. So it's, you got to know that part of the US. So appreciate you sharing that. And you know what, Ted, help us understand, like, what's the most positive thing that's happened to or for you in the last 24 hours?
So what I would say is, I took my son, he loves cricket. All right. So I took my son to the game yesterday. They won the game. I just loved the smile on his face. He performed very well. I was so proud of him. So yeah, it was a good moment. As a team, these kids, they group up, work, put the efforts as a team to achieve something. It's a learning curve from there also, right? It's a team spirit.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And being able to have quality time with your kids and sporting events and teamwork and team building and seeing that happen on an early age. And then especially when they win, that's always a nice thing. So appreciate you sharing that with us. But I'm also going to admit something to you that most of the, well, if not all of the Going Long family already knows. I'm a recovering perfectionist, Ted. And what that means is I try to do things that are really impossible just because it's like part of my DNA, and kind of trying to tell your entire backstory in whatever I took 1.5 or 2 seconds to tell your backstory with some bullet points. I know there's a lot more to the story than that, but I just try to do that to get everybody to know you a little bit more. So I'm going to ask for your help and ask you to please tell your backstory in your own words And then the other thing I'm going to ask you to do is if you can also talk about some of the major decisions that you've made up until this point, and then we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there.
Sounds great. So I'll take it way back to 2000. After completing my bachelor's in electronics from India, I moved to US to do my master's in computer science. So I completed my master's in computer science in 2002 and started working for major investment banks on Wall Street. So even though I was an IT professional and engineer, I hardly did any coding. Frankly speaking, I just jumped into a business analysis space and had worked with bankers and traders on the floor to design their applications, trading applications. So it was good, everything going well, high paying job, 401k growing, investments, good family, and then 2008 happened, So you know what happened in 2008, and it was a bloodbath on Wall Street. Yeah. And I was one of the person who got caught into the same, cycle. So I got laid off in 2008, but while I was away from work, I also had a certain inclination toward business. So I didn't want it to go back to W-2 no more. I didn't want, someone in the boardroom deciding my fate. Okay, he should be hired, he should be fired. I don't want, no uncertainty in my life like that. So I started looking out for a business venture. At that point of time, I didn't knew what I wanted to do, frankly speaking. I didn't knew like I wanted to get into real estate. But what I was looking is some stable business which can provide me enough income to sustain my lifestyle. And then, of course, I can build on top of that. So the first business that I started was I brought a truck stop in Florida. Okay, if someone, any of your listener is not aware, a truck stop is a large gas station which allows the 18-wheelers to, come in, fill the gas. So I ran while I was involved in this business. I came across one of my colleague. I would say a friend, who was involved with real estate. He was doing construction, ground up constructions. He used to do ground up construction for hotels and small multifamilies. So I got a chance to talk to him. We developed a good friendship, and I started following him. Means like I spent about 6 months with him, just from 3 to 4 days a week with him, following him, what he does, how he does. I was like, tell me what I can do for you, and I'll do it for free. I used to burn my own gas, go to wherever he wants, do whatever he wants. And I learned quite a few tricks and all the basics of, construction work. And then in about 2012, I started buying my own properties. I started buying from foreclosure, and sheriff sale, I would say. It's when any property goes to a foreclosure, the sheriff sale, the court auctions that property. So I used to buy those properties back in 2012. I started doing fix and flips, and for small multifamilies, 1 to 4 family. I used to do the BRRRR method, buy, rehab, rent, and refinance. All right. So I use that method to accumulate a small few multifamily properties. And after that, I also started doing the ground up construction for luxury single family homes. I still do it in addition to the multifamilies. But and also started building small multifamily properties from ground up. So that is my active active income till date. Like I'm still involved with those, but I pivoted to multifamily investment back in 2018. So there's a saying like there's some crazy thing that needs to happen in your life to change your mindset. So that kind of thing happened to me in 1818 when I was at one of my current construction site.
And what was that? What was that? Inquiring minds want to know what happened.
Okay. So I was building at one of my property. I had got a pallet of marble from China. Okay. We are offloading the truck and that pallet of marble fall on me. It was like 4,000 pound pallet, like 10 marble slabs in one pallet. It fall on my leg. All right. And it crushed. I had multiple fractures everywhere, on my leg. Lucky enough, nothing worse happened to me. If it was that pallet was like 6 or 7 inches just on the right, it would have crushed me on my chest, So, and then, while I was recovering, I gave a thought like, okay, what would have happened if I was no more, or something worse would have happened to me? Just a thought about it was like gut wracking. How would my family survive? What would be the financial stability for my family? So that pivoted me to passive investment in the beginning. So it gave me a perspective of having a passive investments or passive income in addition to active income. So everyone needs to, I would say, because life is too short. You have to have passive income to secure your family's future. You never know. You might lose your job today. Something might happen to you. You never know. Everything is unpredictable. So starting in 2018, I started looking for passive investments. How I do have active income, everything going well. I do invest in small multifamilies also, but it gives a headache. After you have few small multifamily properties, you don't want to be a person picking up the call 12 in the night. Hey, come fix my toilet. No, you don't want to.
Especially if you're self-managing those. Yeah, it's
yes,
it can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah, and when you have small multifamilies, in certain areas it doesn't give you leverage. You hardly cash flowing sometimes. So if you put a management company, they will take all your cash flow. So it depends on area to area, right? Yeah. So so I started attending all the conferences related to real estate. Reading books, listening to the podcast, and I came across one person who, while I was talking, he met me at the conference, and while I was talking to him, he mentioned like, "Hey, I just closed on 150 units last month," and I was he still looked young to me, well, how did you do that? He said, he was out of the college, like he just graduated before a couple of years before he bought this. And then he told me everything about, how he partnered with different people, raised the money, and how they together close the deal. And that was an eye opener for me also. I never thought like I would be able to buy or invest in these big deals until I got some details from this guy, as well as after that I had one mentor who also helped me to scale my business, get into multifamily. So initially I started investing as a passive investor because I didn't do much about it. I just heard it, this is how it's done, but I did have no practical experience. I didn't knew the numbers, how the numbers work.
Yeah. So you were looking. So would it be fair to say you were looking to go from theory to practice and actually start to gain real experience? Okay. Yep.
Yes, exactly. So I started investing passive, but I would say like I was the most active passive investor in the group. I wanted to be in all the meetings. I wanted to be a part of the meeting with property managers, with investors. I want to be a person looking at all the rent rolls, how it is performing, the property is performing. And fortunate enough, I was able to invest with those operators who gave me some insight on how the things worked internally. All right.
What would you say? What would you say is the biggest thing that you learned from that experience, from the insight that you were able to gain? What was the biggest thing that you learned as a passive investor?
How to manage the property manager. Yeah. Because there are so many things, like the value add that you do in the property, right? If that is not managed properly, how to fill up the vacancies, how to advertisement. That's one of the key things, to make sure you have proper occupancy above 95% on all the apartments. You always have to, make sure your rents are at par, at market rates. Some of the property managers, if you don't, make sure, they are doing their homework, they might try to fill up your properties at whatever rate they get. They might not want to increase the market rate. So you have to follow up with them. You got to make sure this is what it is. Next week, this is the change that we are going to do. Of course, take their input, but you have to, be on top of them.
So what would you say is, because I know you have a kind of a personal, you were talking a little bit about it before, but your personal, because I know you think about things in a financial terms, but also there's a growth that goes beyond the financial terms. Maybe talk to us a little bit about that. Your thoughts, specifically your thoughts of like personal growth beyond just finances.
So I'm a big believer in, four aspects: mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. So all three growths are very important to any person. And I firmly believe that these four aspects, they need to be taught in the school also, which our current school, environment doesn't teach anyone. So without a proper mental balance, what I would say is you cannot accelerate in any aspect of your life. For the physical, of course, you need to be healthy. Spiritual, of course, it's not like you have to meditate or anything, but it's a contribution towards the world. How much you contribute, to make the people around you or the environment around you more beautiful, or make it better, I would say, in other terms. And financial aspect, of course, as Tony Robbins says, right, there are certain 6 aspects that all people need, like certainty, uncertainty, and one of these aspect is financial certainty. So everyone, the basic necessity is a must for everyone, right? Unless you have your basic necessities covered, you won't be able to take a chance, or you won't be able to uh, uh, gain that confidence, I would say, to I would say in a business, right? For example, if you have to take a chance in your business, if you don't have a certainty about your financial basic necessity, then you might hold yourself back in certain decisions. Once you have that certainty, of course, you will take a faith of leap. Of course, you will do your homework, but you will take a chance. So those are the four most important aspect, I would say.
You would focus on. Well, that sounds great. So listen, I just really quickly, before we get into the going long final three, because we kind of have to get there soon. I know you've got a podcast. Your podcast, talk to us a little bit about what the motivation was for your podcast, and go ahead and give us the name of the podcast, and then we're going to get into the going long final three.
Sounds good. So the new podcast that's coming up is Decoding Cash Flow. The basic or the main motto of the podcast is not only educate people about how they can generate passive income or invest in cash flowing properties, but it takes a holistic approach. The one that we spoke about, right? A mental, physical, spiritual, as well as financial aspect. It will cover all four aspects in the Decoding Cash Flow. But the main focus is investments where you can generate cash flow, passive income, and keeping in mind my avatar is the busy professionals, the IT professionals, doctors, whoever are very busy in their life and have little time to look for alternative investments other than stock markets. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you giving us that. And we're here to tell everybody about the Decoding Cash Flow podcast. So awesome. So you'll be able to hear that on your favorite channels. And now, Ted, it's time to get into the going long final three, man. And so I never ask any of our guests, and today you're our special guest, the going long final three, unless you tell me that you're ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You were born ready, man. Help us understand, man. I'm going to bring back, I know you're over in Paramus, New Jersey. I want to bring back to this side of the pond where this guy from Columbus, Ohio is actually residing. Help us understand, what is your favorite European city that you've either visited or are still on your bucket list to visit?
I visited the UK, of course, but one of the city that I want to visit is Florence, Italy. I've heard it's very beautiful in the Tuscany region. I would love to spend some time over there.
All right. So another vote for Firenze for Lawrence, as it is. Perfect. So on to question number 2. And I usually have like this big thing that I talk about, but I'm just going to ask you the question right away. And the question is, like, as you have continued to go out and do things, you've, I'm sure, made 1 or 2 mistakes along the way, or call them learning opportunities, call them whatever you want. I don't want you to think about the mistake that you made. I really want you to think about the lesson that you learned. And what is the one lesson that you've learned along the way through your investing that you know you want to share with the Going Long family?
One lesson I learned is always, see, there are 2 things. One, you can keep educating yourself for, whatever, if you want to make an investment, you want to start a business, you can keep educating yourself. But the thing is, don't get stuck into that wheel, take action. And it's like, don't get into the analysis paralysis mode. And the other thing is to cut down the time, network, get a mentor, I would say, or get to know the people who has already been doing the stuff that you want to do. Leverage their experience, partner with them. Don't try to do everything by yourself. you can do it. There's all the resources available in the world to, which can help you do it. But it might take 5 years to get to the point where you want to reach. But if you start connecting, networking, partnering with people who have already been doing it, you can leverage their experience, avoid the mistakes that they have made, and it will cut down your time to maybe from 5 to 2 years. So always keep networking, leverage the experience from people you know.
Fantastic. So continue to network, leverage the experience of others. And that brings us into question number 3, which is all about helping us to fill our minds with knowledge, speaking of which. So talk to us about the one book that you would recommend to us today, Ted.
Recently, I've been reading one book called Traction. It's by Gino Wickman. And it describes on how to scale and strengthen, different components of your business. It's a good book. And has me also, I've been working on certain aspect based on the understanding what I gained from the book, and hopefully, it will improve some processes in my businesses also.
I'm absolutely sure it will. Yeah. So, Gene Wickman and Traction. So, it tends to get a lot of recommendations. So, I going back to the beginning, like these conversations just like fly by, Ted. And I'm thinking about you in 2000. You wrap up in India, and then 2002, you decide you come over and you finish. Well, you probably came over before, but you finished your master's in computer science. From there, I just mentioned you got the great job. You're an analyst in financial services industry. And then 2008 happens and you realize, well, you're a number on a spreadsheet, and you took that opportunity to say, hey, look, I don't want to be a number on a spreadsheet anymore. I'm crystal clear, going to go ahead, leave this corporate world behind. I'm going to take some of the skill sets so I can do things on my own. And I'm going to put it into practice. You started your truck stop. You realized that, hey, there was somebody in your network that was talking to you about real estate. You liked that idea. You went, you learned more. And then you went from learning to taking action. You even said, hey, look, I'll do it for free, man. I'll do this for free. I'll drive my time and do whatever you need to do so that you could learn and gain and go from practice to theory. And then from there, you did the smaller multifamily and realized, hey, listen, there's a way I can also passively invest, do that with others, go into larger types of opportunities and not necessarily have to swing the hammer every single time. And now you're even doing that, and you're help people decoding cash flow through your podcast. And you also through Ask Your Capital. And so like everybody wants to know, Billy, just get to the point. So everybody wants to know, Ted, what's the best way for the Going Long family to contact you or to be in touch with you and find out more about what you're doing?
They can always go to my website. It's Astre Capital. It spells like ASTRE capital.com. And they can find me on social media, LinkedIn profile, Facebook, Insta, as well as I'd like to give my email address also to your listeners, just in case if they want to, get in touch with me anytime. It's ted@astrecapital.com. And I'll be happy to, talk to them, answer any questions they might have. And yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Well, listen, man. So, Ted, really appreciate you investing on behalf of the entire Going Long family, you investing your time with me, with us today, and really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Yeah, and Ted, if you give me like 10, sure. If you give me like 10 seconds, I just want to wrap things up with the Going Long family.
Sure.
So listen, everybody, Ted just shared his story, how he's transitioned from corporate into full-time investing, also being able to keep a lot of those skills. And he's talking to you about taking theory and putting it into practice. That was even point number 2 when he talked about in the Going Long Final 3. So take today's conversation, share it with family, share it with friends. And while you're doing that, going from theory to practice, I'll be here preparing the next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much.